want them to do. So thank you very much for that. And now time has come to introduce the third and last session of our forum, which is going to explore the complex challenges that are surrounding AI with a focus on the regulatory framework. We will definitely talk about the EU AI Act with our renowned experts. And other key topics will be data privacy and cybersecurity and the creation of transparent and accountable AI systems that will be discussed. So let me introduce our speakers for this session. Our first speaker is Dr. Nikos Nikolinakos. He is managing partner at Nikolinakos and Partners LLP, co-head of the Telecoms, Media, Technology, Digital Business and Competition Law Practices. Dr. Nikolinakos possesses over 20 years of expertise in telecoms and media, data protection and cybersecurity, emerging digital technologies and competition. He is also a visiting lecturer at the National Technical University of Athens with numerous publications and an accomplished author of 3 books, the most recent one being on the EU AI Act. So Dr. Nikolinakos, please come on stage and take your seat. Thank you. Our second speaker is Katerina Sourouni. She is the National Technical Officer, Greece, Cyprus, and Malta at Microsoft. With over 18 years of ICT experience, Ms. Sourouni currently specializes in developing digital transformation strategies for organizations across Greece, Cyprus, and Malta, aiding leaders in both the private and public sector to successfully integrate AI, cloud technologies, and cybersecurity. Ms. Sourouni. And our third and last speaker is Dr. Vangelis Sakkopoulos. He is the CTO, Chief Architect and Co-founder at Scytáles AB and CTO for the EU Digital Identity Wallet reference implementation for EU on the contractor side. With a PhD in computer engineering, Dr. Sakkopoulos has over 60 publications on digital ID, secure identity, and personalized software engineering, and is an expert contributor to 2 ISO working groups on digital identity wallet standards. Please, Dr. Sakkopoulos, come on stage. And last but not least, I am pleased to welcome on stage our Session 3 moderator, who is Dimitris Mallas, a journalist at CNN Greece and a true legend in tech and business journalism. Mr. Mallas brings 3 decades of journalistic experience at the cross-section of digital technology, innovation, and business. Currently, with CNN Greece and the DPG network, he is also a prominent tech podcast creator and contributor of several podcasts, and he is recognized as the leading voice in tech journalism in Greece. Mr. Mallas, I'm handing over.
You said too much. Okay, Maria was talking too much about me, so that's why I got up. So, to be honest, we have one very difficult task. Okay, it's the last session. Okay, it's us, and then it's dinner. So we have to do interesting speeches, and I have to do a very interesting moderation after for the panel. Okay, so we will start first with Mr. Nikolinakos here. We have a speech about a presentation about EU AI Act. So, can you go on stage? On podium? No, we're on stage. Yeah. Honestly, it's a difficult task. You have 10 minutes. I'm diminishingly, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I was invited to speak about the European Artificial Intelligence Act, and mainly because I believe this is a difficult task, mainly because we are talking about a legal document which is approximately 150 pages long. So what I will try to do is to focus on some major points of the European AI Act, and at the same time to provide information on what businesses have to do in order to comply with specific obligations and requirements. This is the formal definition of an artificial intelligence system, which is a machine-based system operating with various levels of autonomy, exhibiting adaptiveness after deployment. So the two key words of that definition is autonomy and adaptiveness. And that system infers from the input it receives how to generate outputs, for instance, predictions, content, recommendations, or decisions. And those outputs could influence physical or virtual environments. This is a formal definition of an artificial intelligence system, drafted mainly by lawyers, so probably because sometimes precision lacks, there is lacking. Two types of AI, software and embodied AI, namely software incorporated in hardware. Some of the examples given: image analysis software, speech and face recognition systems, cybersecurity. On the other hand, robots, autonomous cars, drones, Internet of Things, etc. In particular, with regard to cybersecurity in particular, artificial intelligence already plays a major role, mainly because it can identify patterns. That's why it improves accuracy and efficiency in tackling cyber attacks, and this in conjunction with the fact that 41 billion devices worldwide are expected to be interconnected to the Internet of Things in the coming months. This makes it obvious why artificial intelligence can play an important role in order to secure these connected systems. And this is the reason why the Artificial Intelligence Act, alongside the European Cyber Resilience Act for connected devices and the NIS2 directive, join forces in order to provide a safety net in order to increase cybersecurity. That's a legal framework, the European legal framework. In the beginning, it was decided that a legally binding document was not necessary. Soft law recommendations or guidelines were enough. That was the first thought. So that's why you had the four basic ethical principles: respect for human autonomy, dignity, prevention of harm, principle of fairness and justice, and principle of explicability, transparency, meaning that we need to know how and why a particular AI system reaches a specific outcome, makes a specific decision. Those four basic ethical principles are strictly linked to 7 key requirements, and those are human agency and oversight, meaning that humans should be always in the loop, that humans humans must be in a position to take control in case something goes wrong. Safety, privacy, data protection, transparency, non-discrimination, and fairness, which also means that we need to prevent biased results, societal and environmental well-being, and accountability, which means that we need to know always who is responsible, who is going to become liable in case something goes wrong, in case an AI system produces not the necessary results. So, in the end, however, it was decided that we had to go for a legally binding document, and this is the European Artificial Intelligence Act, mainly because of the new risks associated with some of those AI systems, and especially those which relate to safety and fundamental rights, protection of fundamental rights. If we want to remember just a couple of major issues concerning the European Artificial Act are the following. The Act applies to providers, deployers, meaning business users, importers, distributors, and authorized representatives, if the AI system is placed in the EU market, or if the use of the system affects people in the EU. In other words, It's irrelevant whether a company or an organization is located outside the EU. It's what we call the Brussels effect. What counts, what matters is the product, the system of that company is placed in the EU market. Now, we have to remember that this AI Act classifies AI systems based on risk, so we have a risk-based approach, prohibited, unacceptable risk, so this means prohibited systems, high risk, limited and minimal risk. And for those high-risk systems, there are specific requirements and there are specific obligations to be imposed on providers and other stakeholders. One of the most important obligations is to conduct a conformity assessment, a prior conformity assessment, before the system is placed on the market. And even after that, there is an obligation to have in place a post-market monitoring system. Those are the basic obligations. In more detail, it's a similar slide. We have unacceptable risk, prohibited systems, because they violate European fundamental rights and values. We have high risk, and those systems are not prohibited, but we have to mitigate risk, and this means that we have to undertake conformity assessments and to impose a post-market monitoring system as well. For less risk systems, you have transparency and information-related obligations to inform the people, for instance, that they are dealing with a machine, or to inform that specific content is AI-generated. With regard to prohibited AI systems, in particular, if you use systems that manipulate or exploit vulnerable groups, or if you use systems, we call them predicting policing systems, or if you use emotion recognition systems in the workplace, then you have to stop using them by the 2nd of February 2025, in less than 3 months, because they will be banned. And they will be banned because they are considered to constitute a clear threat to the safety and fundamental rights of people. Those are the prohibited systems, and those are the high-risk systems. They are allowed, provided that we undertake we impose specific obligations. Examples of high-risk systems: systems operating robots, drones, or medical devices, or cars, systems performing profiling, or systems used in 8 critical areas: critical infrastructure, transport, supply of water, etc., education, systems used for scoring of exams, employment, systems used for recruitment, essential services and benefits, AI systems used in sectors like health, banking, insurance, etc., law enforcement, migration, border control management, for instance, systems used for verification of travel documents, and so on. Those are not prohibited, they are high risk, but because they entail high risk, they have to be designed and developed with specific capabilities. Some of the most important capabilities is that they have to be trained and tested with high-quality data sets, representative data sets, or they have to comply with human oversight measures to ensure appropriate accuracy, safety, and cybersecurity levels. At the same time, still for the high-risk systems, specific obligations will be imposed on providers, meaning manufacturers, but also distributors or authorized representatives. Some of the most important obligations are undertaking an ex-ante conformity assessment, or obligations imposed on deployers, meaning business users, obligations, for instance, ensuring human oversight and intervention, conducting fundamental rights impact assessment, informing about serious incident or malfunctioning, etc. In case of infringement, penalties will be imposed up to 35 million or 7% of the total worldwide annual turnover. And those are the steps that a company and organization has to take into account in order to integrate those steps into the organization's compliance processes. Indicatively, identification, you have to assess if you have AI systems, which of those systems qualify as artificial intelligence systems. Then you have to classify them based on potential risk, unacceptable, high risk, low risk, and you have to conduct a gap analysis. You have to conduct a prior conformity assessment, to register the system in the European database, to write a declaration of conformity, and to introduce a post-market monitoring and incident report system. And the final slide, this is an outline of an artificial intelligence compliance project, phase 1, phase B, and the continuous compliance. Phase 1 comprises, among others, training, which is obligatory. We have to train employees and the management of each company and organization. We have to create a mapping of an inventory of AI systems, to proceed with a legal and compliance audit, to make sure that our GDPR and AI procedures are complementary, streamlined, and then finally we have to conduct a gap analysis report. And based on the results of that gap analysis, we have to draft new or revise existing policies, procedures, agreements, conformity assessments, and so on. When the project is finalized, is complete, then we have to proceed with a post-market monitoring system, which means that we have to conduct, in case it's necessary, new or update conformity assessment. We have to continuously monitor the operation of the systems, and in the end, in case something goes wrong, in case we have serious incidents, we have to set up specific procedures in order to inform the relevant regulatory authorities, to inform the affected persons, and at the same time to focus on AI-related liability issues. Thank you very much for your time.
I think the most impressive stuff was that in 14 minutes, you give us a very good impression of about what EU AI Act is, which is very impressive. And honestly, that was very difficult. Okay, but we'll try. So going to our next speaker, because we're talking about responsible AI, I was talking to the minister before, and I think that's a very important issue. So we have with us Ms. Katerina Sourouni to give us a presentation about that subject, right?
Thank you very much for the invitation today. I will try in 10 minutes to present here how Microsoft has handled the topic of responsible AI and how we believe that the innovation opportunity that we have in front of us can be accelerated through a responsible framework. So, AI came to our lives with an extraordinary opportunity. It is impressive how it can see patterns in data that are difficult to identify by the human eyes and support medicine, science, education, and other major sectors. We have heard the minister talking about the expectations that all we have around how AI can help predictive diagnostics in cancer and other diseases. However, we do believe, and Brad Smith said in the past, that technology is potentially a tool and a weapon, or better, if we phrase it better, in this case, a societal challenge. We need to have our eyes open, do everything we can do in order to appreciate the opportunities and pursue them, but equally, let's focus on the risks, address them with transparency. We need to do both with equal determination, energy, and at the same time. From a study that we have seen last year, it seems that 73% of the people are concerned about the potential risks of AI, but in parallel, 75% of these people believe that if we have the correct mechanisms around responsibility and safety, they are more confident to use AI. So technology like AI becomes more and more embedded in our daily lives. This means that we need to build it responsibly, from the design till the deployment and also the use. The question here is not what the technology can do, but how and what it should do. So if we deep dive and, let's say, categorize the risks that we see that are coming with generative AI, we see some specific categories that have to do, first of all, with the input and then with the output of Gen AI. In terms of the input, we all know that LLMs need vast amounts of data in order to be trained and to act effectively. So in this case, data can include personal data. That means that if we don't manage them in an appropriate way, then we can have privacy or security breaches. The same can happen also with biases. This kind of data can have inherent biases within them, and if we leave them used for training our models, we can even perpetuate or even amplify these biases. If we move to the output of the AI systems, then we can see several concerns about ethical challenges. This can be potential misuse of the AI-generated content, the creation of deepfakes, or even the manipulation of information. And then we have also the discussion about intellectual property. So there are questions raised about who is owning this generated content, and if this has to do with existing copyrights and trademarks. Last but not least, generative AI is powerful, very powerful. We have seen it, all of us, but it's not infallible. It can produce inaccurate and sometimes even misleading content. So this can have also serious consequences that we need to consider. What we do believe that we need in our AI systems that are coming and getting deployed daily in our lives, it is very critical to design them in order to be safe, secure, and trustworthy. So, if I can correlate this slide with what Mr. Nikolinakos said just before, we see that Microsoft has established a core set of principles many years ago, maybe 2020 or even earlier, and they were, let's say, a superset of the EU ethical framework principles. So AI systems should treat all people fairly, should be reliable and safe, should be secure and respect the privacy, should empower everyone and can be accessed widely. We need to understand the AI systems and the way that they work, and then people should be accountable for these AI systems. So, to be honest, we see within the last 4 or 6 years that Microsoft is very actively working on ensuring compliance, specifically with EU AI Act, but also with other regulations across countries like US, India, Australia, with similar regulations. We are also part of EU AI Pact from September 2024, a voluntary initiative by the European Commission that encourages organizations to start applying the principles of EU AI Act even earlier than the full implementation. The Responsible AI standard that you can also access publicly through internet right now, it was a long-term effort from Microsoft in order to govern our own systems, AI systems that we deploy and develop. Right now, we do believe that this needs to be shared with all organizations, our customers, and other organizations in private and public sector, in order to help them and support to navigate all these complexities that have been mentioned in the previous presentations, but not only them. So, except for the responsible AI principles and the standard that I mentioned, we do care about our customers and organizations on how they are moving to their own AI systems, or they are using our software in AI, and we are working with them not only in the best practices or some processes that they need to incorporate in their strategy, but also with technical tools. We do have released in the previous year many tools around content filtering, about data privacy and data governance, and also we support our customers with specific dashboards for monitoring fairness and responsibility of AI systems. Also, in contract terms, we do have specific clauses and data protection addendums that they have been applied to our contracts in order to help our customers to embrace AI and innovation. Together with the customer copyright commitment, we do work with each one of them in order to help them innovate, either directly or through our partner ecosystems. And also, as said before, we are one of the technology providers that we are advocates of the regulation in AI from the very beginning. So, in terms of our countries, our priority here is how we can help the society and the economy to embrace innovation in a responsible way. What we believe as priority in this is, first of all, how we can evolve and contribute in awareness, both in AI as technology, but also in the responsibility aspect, and skilling at all levels. Through this, we do believe that we will promote a responsible and accessible innovation in action. You may see here some specific engagements that we do have in Sweden and also in Greece. Microsoft has announced previously in this year a huge investment in Sweden about AI, and we started with the launch of Center for Responsible AI Innovation together with a huge partner ecosystem in order to help all the organizations there and the stakeholders to have access to strategic advice, technical support, and also skills development around AI. And in parallel, in Greece, we started a great initiative back then in 2021, which was a significant milestone for AI for good, as we call it, the digital revival of ancient Libya through AI technology. In 2023, as also the minister mentioned, we helped the Greek government to be recognized as a pioneer in EU, starting with GenAI, Infobot, and then with My Greece and Cadastre case. So we do believe that Greece is not following the rest of the globe, it's not just one more skeptical.
No, we're okay.
Yes. Okay, so we do believe that all this engagement and all this innovation that we are doing, and also other technology providers and consulting companies are doing within the country, we can transform Greece to a Southeast AI innovation hub. And now I can close it. And
Now we
thank
can
you so
applaud.
much.
Because in just 12 minutes, you just gave us a very good impression of what responsible AI should be and what you're trying to do, which is really, really important. So we started talking about EU AI Act. We started about responsible AI. That's two big challenges. There's another challenge called eIDAS. I can never say that. Okay, it's too difficult for me, I honestly say. So we have with us Dr. Vangelis Sakkopoulos. I think he made Maria made the introduction before. So if you can give us an overview about how AI can be in the service of eIDAS. Okay, if I say that wrong, okay, excuse me about that, but it's too difficult. eIDAS. How you pronounce it?
It is as you said, eIDAS.
eIDAS,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a very
But the company's name is also, it's a Greek name, right? Scytáles.
Yeah, so very nice to be here. Honored by the invitation, and thank you, hosts, for having us. I'm with a Swedish organization with a Greek name and a Swedish-Greek heart and mind. And I want to talk to you about what we do in the identity to protect our sovereignty and identity in these a little bit gray times that we are living in. So we're going to see some challenges that AI brings to us for the new era of the digital online identification. Things that you use every day, like social media, you authenticate and you identify yourself. I'm going to show you with three pictures what AI can do to us and how can we resolve this later down. So one of the primary protective measures that EU is trying to do, on top of NIS2 and the AI Act, is also to secure and simplify the digital society, meaning with no age limits to create a safe and secure digital world. Now, today we have internet and everybody goes online freely and easily, and no matter the age, no matter the tool, it's quite easy to access things, but we don't currently have adoption in the EU-wide access of digital public services, and I'm not referring to governmental public services, but all public services. Though the internet exists, we only see a fragment of reality out there. And the reason behind that is the fact that the systems that we try to access don't really know who we are. We can impersonate people. You have heard stories about people losing their social media accounts, being impersonated in tax fraud, etc., etc. However, identification has existed for thousands of years, and I will say a very good paradigm that Sweden has, the bank ID. So for the last almost 20 years, the northern countries have a very excellent and advanced eID system that has served them well. However, it has a very strategic choice. It's centralized. So if it's off, then it's off for everyone. However, I want you to think something. When we travel, we are using passports, right? If our government has been bombed, two world wars have proven that we can use passports to travel to identify ourselves. We want to create and introduce a resilient, no single off point, decentralized identity system for our digital goods. So when we transform all these very nice services online, we can lose them in a day if we lose the capability to identify ourselves. Just in a day. We want to bring, and EU wants to bring, the capability after 2014 to digitally sign contracts, to digitally sign documents, and now, in 2024, to digitally sign and log into services online. The challenge is very big for data acceptance, meaning interoperability cross-border in the EU member states, a very low number, we see there, 24% only, of the key service providers across all member states allow cross-border authentication, meaning while I can take my ID across Schengen countries and be there and live there quite easily for a long period of time as a tourist or even do business, with my passport, I cannot do it online. I have to create new usernames and passwords again and again. And that poses a threat because I can impersonate a different person across different countries. And there's a data security challenge. 95% of the respondents to multiple questionnaires have said that a digital identity should be as secure as a physical one, and even more. And today, it isn't. We have a new regulation in the EU since this April, a few months ago, that is already here to tell us that we can have a digital identity wallet that can hold not only the primary identity that we have, the ID. By the way, I want to remind to the Greek audience that Sweden has, as a primary identity, practically the driver's license. And that's something that not a lot of people know and understand here in Greece. Though officially it's the ID, but practically it's a driving license. So this means that the wallet can hold different certificates, different identifying things, like your diploma from the university, your license to be a lawyer or an engineer digitally. Beyond any legal doubt, you can use it forever and never be able to deny it in any online transaction, like getting a new job or applying for your new insurance for the car or the house annually, without going and visiting any physical place. We are worried that identity theft, meaning somebody can impersonate us, will not allow this to happen, and that's why we regulate it and we invent new technology to go and proceed with this. So I will give you an example of what practically AI can do. Here is one real subject, one real person. And here is a different real person. Notice the chins, notice the nose. I know that you are not policemen, you don't have experience in the Schengen border area, but please notice the difference to the people. And then I will give you what AI can do. The AI can create a new passport, a new digital identity for this guy that no digital system can win, and it is this guy. So this guy, biometrically, according to the law, is the same as both of the guys. In most systems, only high fidelity systems can prove that this is not the real same thing. Using the morphed, morph is a Greek word, it means feature, morphe. We have combined two pictures in one. We do this every day with our social media. We can be a bunny, we can be somebody else, we can be thicker chin, or thinner waist, right? So imagine that we can do this in our face and then create an ID, especially a low security plastic ID, as we have in a lot of countries across member states, and be that guy in the middle, meaning that we can impersonate two people.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's
That's
fun.
very convenient.
It's very fun. It's very fun. So high quality morph images and videos. Now you can do this in real time in video. So a very interesting latest hack, digital security attack, happened against the CEO of a very high profile internet company. Actually, somebody else joined his Zoom account, and being somebody else, in real time, the video was impersonating his voice and image, and he actually sold 5% of the company. He didn't sell everything, he just sold a piece. So it was a little bit unreasonable for the board, but okay, he explained to it, and he took the decision. This actually happened, it's not a fiction story. So this proves how this AI can help us. Actually, this is a homemade thing. This is something that you can do with just one smartphone. You don't need any special equipment to do this online. You need special equipment and special laws like what we do as Scytáles to use advanced AI technology in situations like this to mitigate the issue. And that's what we do. We try to make the world out there for all of us, because we don't have some magic armor that we're not also a target, to help against AI-based attacks. So what the EU and us all together want to say is, yes, we have the Data Act, so it's our data and this should be our story, and we want a digital identity now that will respond to the challenges of identification. It will allow you to use your phone, your less than 100 euros phone, to digital identify yourself anywhere online, securely if you choose so. And it will be privacy by design, meaning that it will be as private as handing out money to the bar, physically money, that no one can track. Not like the cards. Remember the payment cards? They track you. It will also allow you to sign documents, and we have created an ecosystem that serves all parties. The issuing authorities can issue digital identities. The readers, the verifiers, service providers that want to consume this identity, the relying parties, have special tools to now identify you. And of course, the citizens, for free, the wallet is going to be for free. You're not going to pay, it's going to be something that you can download anytime. How this will work? The member states, and we are a paradigm already to multiple countries, we have deployments already in production in the United States and other countries around the world, that show how the Swedish and the Greek minds are working for this. You can mandate a wallet to be in the country, and then the wallet will be around. It has to be open source and for free, so everybody can check it. The wallet user will use it. It will ask for his identity from the university, from the previous employer to get a certificate, if you are good enough. And then pass it to the relying party to be used. Of course, this is dependent on level of assurance high, meaning no legal doubts that it has been you. Trust system like the eIDAS 1.0. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here.
All three of you were good in time. That's very convenient for us. Okay, and very helpful. Now, the title of the session is AI challenges, navigating AI challenges. I think that's the main word. And honestly, I think one of the biggest challenges that I see as a journalist is we're talking about the EU AI Act. Does the Greek businesses are prepared for that, know about that? And I would like to start from there. So, Dr. Nikolinakos, can you give us an overview of what you see? Do they know the Greek businesses or not? Take the microphone. You have each one microphone. Sorry for that.
To be honest with you, I believe that we are still in the beginning. Imagine a similar situation like what happened 6 years ago with GDPR. In the beginning, nobody knew about GDPR and what they had to do in order to comply with the requirements and obligations of the regulation. I think it's similar here with the AI Act. Some of the multinational organizations, enterprises, probably have already started this process, compliance process. For instance, I can give you an example. 7 months ago, we started doing the training in Frankfurt for the European Central Bank.
Okay. So
I mean, almost 1 year before the European AI Act is in force. Because they had a lot of things to do and they wanted to be prepared. They wanted to prepare the ground. Here in Greece, I believe it's completely the opposite right now, but I assume because many people have already started talking about the AI Act and artificial intelligence, at some point, I assume towards the end of the year or beginning of next year, we'll start thinking about this compliance process.
Ms. Sourouni, what's your impression about that? What do you believe? Are we well informed about that? It's open. Yeah. I think it's speak on the phone.
Now?
Now it's better.
Okay. So, I can only agree with what Mr. Nikolinakos said. If we can get a step back and see what it has been done during these 2 years from, the very first release of ChatGPT in our lives, I think
because that brings the whole AI conversation in the market. That's what you are saying.
Yes, and I think that if we see the landscape in Greece, we saw many organizations to be eager to experiment. So they started working in AI, but even without knowing the regulation, they were worried about how responsible it can be. If we see, for example, the MyGov bot, the first thing that we have discussed and top of mind of all the teams from the Greek government, the partners and Microsoft, was not the super wow innovation that will bring this bot, but just give the functionality to the citizens with a responsible manner. So it was first a priority for all of us to build red teams to work on this testing of the bot, rather than, be okay, relax,
AI, right?
that it is about an infobot. We don't care if something goes wrong. Nothing went wrong. And it was because top of mind of everybody was that.
But that's the biggest challenge with AI in general, meaning that has to be meaningful for the people, the citizens, everybody living around without even knowing at some point, right?
Yes, but all the people, first of all, when we heard about this AI GovBot, we would like to play with it and see what it might go wrong.
To be honest, if it wasn't for Gen AI and the ChatGPT, perhaps nobody would care about that. But that's another,
Yes.
that gives another perception.
So I think that even in early stage, everybody has top of mind how responsible AI can be incorporated, not in the details of EU Act, and this is something that we all need to work on this for the awareness of the details and the categories of the systems, because I truly believe that when the organizations do know and be aware of the details, they will not be afraid to work on this direction. And right now, they don't have the full idea and awareness that they need. So they are, they started experiment and they don't know how to operationalize.
We'll come back to the challenges a little bit, but I would like here Mr. Sakkopoulos to ask the same question. But I think you can give us a more European perspective. Okay, what's your impression about Greek companies, but also what's your impression about European companies, as far as you know?
I mean,
microphone.
at the moment, today, the statistics say
a bit
that...
closer to
Yeah, okay.
that's why the singers,
Yeah. So at the moment, the statistics say that the uptake of AI in small and medium enterprises is average, is above average, but there's a big but. They're just using it for very simplistic tasks and only to try it out. That's what OpenAI says itself.
Yeah.
So this shows some, let's say, interest, but it also shows that there is lack of trust. And the regulation comes to bring some trust, to elevate a little bit at least the trust, but it is upon the implementers of the platforms to actually guarantee the trust, and also the certification bodies and conformity bodies to actually start applying the checks and balances that would show that, for example, there's no IP fraud, that there's not going to be any new ways of locking down to vendors how we do business.
So you're saying the main challenge here is that we have to have the businesses try to find trust in the AI. I think Ms. Sourouni also mentioned that in her presentation. Trust is key here.
Correct.
EU AI Act can give us the trust that we need in order to implement more AI services, solutions, whatever we can call them.
The legislators have done their best to provide a platform to raise against the new era and actually say how this can be trusted. Now, we don't really have all the tools to do what's needed, as with also GDPR. Regulations and regulators always are visionary. They say, okay, let's fortify, let's make this happen. And then it comes to engineers to try to innovate and find new things to help. And with the help of other engineers that are in the platforms that are actually building new things, I think that this can be trusted, and eventually this can be used. However, it's sad that the SMEs, especially across Europe, from
when you're talking about SMEs, you're not talking about the Greek SMEs because it's different sizes, right?
No, I mean, OpenAI says the SMEs, so it doesn't...
Yeah, but the SMEs, how you describe an SME, it's different in the US and in Europe rather than...
That's true. However, we have here in Greece a lot of small businesses that can take advantage of AI tools brought by platforms. They can speed up the way they are doing business. But it's key to have, it's not just to be simple, it's not just to be for free. It has also to be trustful, because they have now also the other act, the Data Act, that is actually the result of how the SMEs internationally have been locked down to vendors to do ESOPs, to do payments, and now they cannot get their data.
They can get their data out. Yeah, that's very important as well.
So that's very important. If we can keep the trust there, we are not going to lose this big train, and I'm talking about the EU.
Okay. Just to stay a little bit on the EU AI Act and finish that, perhaps, Mr. Nikolinakos, here we're talking about trust. Okay, fine. The EU put the AI Act, we're okay with that, it builds trust. But the companies need to be, how to say that, to comply. How? What's the biggest challenge in complying with this EU AI Act?
First of all, more investment is required. You need more money.
That's why you mentioned investment.
You have
As I was trying to find the word.
If you want
okay?
to comply, you have
to invest. But what do you need to invest? Money or resources?
Both.
Both. What kind of resources?
First of all, you have to take
The
the appropriate.
microphone
You have to take the appropriate regulatory, technical, and operational measures. That costs. It's money, and you need the right people to implement that for your company, for your organization. That's the first point. The second point, that's also, I don't know if we are going to talk about the difference between the EU and the States or China or other.
That's a very long discussion. Okay. Yeah. So we're trying to. We don't have
the major difference is that here in Europe we are talking about a strict regulation, a legally binding document. It's not a soft law. It's not guidelines, not recommendations. So organizations and companies need to comply with this regulation. And this regulation is not a directive. It doesn't have to be transposed into national law. It applies as it is. It has a direct effect, as we say. So it means we need to draw the right balance between increasing efficiency or increasing the incentive to invest and innovate on the one hand, and at the same time we have to make sure that that those devices and those systems are secure for people to use it.
That's a challenge.
Of course. That's why this balance is very difficult to achieve it, and I believe that at least they tried to do a right. At least, yes. I'm not quite sure if they achieved
the balance.
If they achieved the right balance. Nobody knows that yet, because we need a couple of years to see how everybody is going to implement those measures. That will be, the figure. That's in a couple of years from now, we will be in a position to know if the balance was drawn correctly. However, in order to increase innovation and investment, you have to make people trust those systems, those AI systems.
Okay.
If you want people to trust those systems, you need to ensure that companies will comply with those strict obligations.
That sounds a little bit paradox, but
not.
It's not.
In order to increase the number of the AI systems in the EU, people have to use them. Otherwise, you will not increase the number. Nobody will invest in something that is not going to be used.
Okay.
So if you want a secure system, you have to invest in complying with the obligations arising out of the AI Act. Okay. It's a catch-22. Never stops.
Okay, but
that's the balance that needs to be, to be drawn.
So, Ms. Sourouni, what are the opportunities there? Meaning, in what Mr. Nikolinakos was saying, he was right about that you can innovate, you can use AI to innovate, but still, in the same time, you have to be complying with the EU. So, what are the opportunities for investment? Where do you see the opportunities for innovation?
First of all, I think that still doesn't work. Now?
Now.
Okay. So
they're turning it on from.
Okay, thank you. So there is a huge opportunity, and as we said before, we are at a very early stage of experimentation. So if we also see in some detail, because you are the expert of EU Act,
we're talking about the whole AI now.
Yes, but if we see the categories of the systems, there is a lot of room in the general purpose AI models and systems that can give us a huge opportunity, a huge boost in our operational efficiency, in our citizen experience, in our customer experience. So I really agree that we will see all the challenges coming with a strict legislation in 1 or 2 years from now, but right now, with specific set of responsibility and security and privacy from the legislations even that we all know till now, we can go and grab this opportunity and this innovation, this innovation that is coming and it is in front of us.
Okay, Mr. Sakkopoulos, your view on opportunity.
There is a definite opportunity in health, and there's a definite opportunity in defense. So
in defense?
Yes. Defense is a subject that is very long, so I will not go towards that direction, but I would say about health. So, yes, the most important thing is what the minister said, is we hope that we're going to cure big things.
Yeah.
Because there is data around the world. We don't have much of them as the Chinese or the Asians in general, but we also have different health than them. So I'm not sure that that's, not checking out for us well. On the other hand, there are international pandemics, as we know. Now, the AI on business level can also help, especially the small ones, the smaller ones, to have access to tools that usually only big corporations used to have until now.
So it's a little bit of democratizing the
It is. It gives you access to little tools and skills that only a corporation would have the, let's say, the mechanisms, the departments, the directorates to assist
still
them.
They need to invest in their resources and in how they're going to make them work, right? That's the part of the digital transformation, the famous digital transformation, perhaps.
If we focus in Sweden and Greece, I think the digital literature of the smaller businesses is quite high in both of them. And I will give you a reason behind this argument. We were both the countries, together with Finland, with the highest adoption of smartphones when they were born. The Swedes were making the smartphones, but
and the Finnish were making
exactly,
the smartphones
but the Greeks were loving the tool because we didn't have developed the landline telephony, so we could use it in parts of the country where it was not used. We have shown that we have quite a literature in
to use that kind of thing.
Yeah, in different ways.
To be honest, and I'm a big fan of that discussion, but a lot of people and the research that has been done the last couple of months and the last years are showing that the small and medium businesses, and we're talking about, in Greece are in two categories. The ones that they're growing very high and they're using digital technology and digital tools very quickly and they're adopting that. And the other part, which they are not doing anything. So it's a little bit of a chasm, that's the thing. It's a big digital divide. That's what the research is showing at this point. But the big category is growing very high. But
it's what you said earlier, however. We have to think about it. What we call small businesses today here in Greece has also a history in the country of people that are entrepreneurs in what they do, but they are family business that are handed over from father to son and then to grandchild, and therefore they don't do anything like the innovation management that is done in Sweden. There's no background and education of that here in Greece.
Yeah, that's true.
So an industrial country like Sweden does innovation management step by step, percentage by percentage, 2%, but they go high, a little bit higher every year. Here we are like the Masons of the Masons of the ancient the Byzantines. If we
The
have
original
something,
Masons,
So we just hand over from family generation to generation. The lawyers become lawyers, the doctors become doctors, and the engineers become engineers, and the bakery shops become bakery shops.
But what you're saying is that with AI, perhaps the small and medium business can change that and make a leap forward.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. So we have 5 more minutes, so I would like to open that to the audience if there is any questions. No question. Everybody's tired. So, but you'll give me one. I have 5 minutes, so I won't waste that. Because there is one subject that I really need to touch. 2 subjects. The one will be with the 2 gentlemen, a lady. Cybersecurity. Okay, so cybersecurity risk increases as AI becomes more integrated. What are the key steps that companies need to take to protect themselves from AI-related security vulnerabilities while complying for AI? So, Mr. Sakkopoulos, I will start with you now.
So we have...
you mentioned cybersecurity as well, that's why.
Yeah. So on business level, we have NIS2. On personal level, we have also the eIDAS, where we have to protect our core identity. And the resilience is the key. I talked about the resilience of the passports. So we bring this to the identity.
And Mr. Nikolinakos was talking about the new act, the Cyber Resilience Act.
Yeah. So now on the NIS, the protection, I mean, we had only 5 big ransomware attacks here in Greece this week. In big organizations.
And most of them, nobody knows it.
And nobody knows about
except
it.
One.
Yeah. Except probably one.
One in the university.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is untold. We know about the attack, we don't know what happened.
Nobody,
officially.
It was ransomware.
Yeah, because it affected...
The Greek Open University the Hellenic Open University was hacked.
That's
about, public knowledge. That's why
it's about 100,000 people actively being there, so it's a big organization.
It's a bigger...
nevertheless...
Take the mic.
Exactly. Just to say that the platforms do big investments to protect us. The telecoms are making big investments to protect the smaller. The smaller, however, need to use that. It's not like physical security where you have to pay for your own door, and the more you pay, the more secure.
Yeah, still you need to invest in the...
You need to be conscious, you need to invest in the skills.
Okay.
Invest in the skills.
Invest in the skills. Mr. Nikolinakos on the same subject about cybersecurity. Take the microphone.
To repeat that the new European legal framework comprises, apart from the EU AI Act, the EU Cyber Resilience Act.
Which is coming after. It's new.
It's new. It was passed in the European Parliament 1 month ago. So you have, as a regulation, it applies directly, but they will give at least 1, probably 2 years for companies and organizations to comply. The compliance process will start in the next couple of months or so. It's probably more important in comparison with the AI Act because it relates to connected systems, IoT systems, and what companies have to do in order to protect them, cybersecurity and security in general. Also, I have to mention that the NIS2 directive plays an important role in tackling cyber attacks, in enhancing cybersecurity. And 2 more points, just 2 words.
You need to comply. That's the main. You need to invest.
And you need to invest. And probably the most worrying issue for me right now is that the public sector has to comply ahead of the private sector. I remind you that in less than 3 months from now, the public sector has to finalize an exercise according to which they have to identify the systems, the AI systems, that could be considered to be prohibited. And they have to stop using them. If they keep using them, that will be not obviously to the benefit of people, of consumers, of the population, but also some heavy penalties, will anticipate some penalties. As a last point, and probably most important from any other point I made before, is the forthcoming artificial intelligence liability and the new product liability directive, which cover probably the most sensitive issue: what's going to happen in case something goes wrong? Who is liable, especially in a very interconnected system like IoT, which is very complicated, very legalistic, and definitely this is not the right time. But for me, this will be the most important issue. Someone has to comply, and if someone does not comply with the regulations and the directives, what's going to happen then? Apart from the penalties to be imposed, there will be also liability lawsuits that probably will fly around.
But something, and I need Ms. Sourouni here, it's very important stuff about that, and what Mr. Nikolinakos was mentioned, is the data poisoning. Okay, because in order to have an AI project run, you need to have the right data. If you don't have the right data, then the project goes wrong. That's called data poisoning, for those that you don't know. And then if something goes wrong, as you said, who is responsible for that? How can we protect ourselves from data poisoning? Okay.
Very interesting question. And also something that mentioned by the minister about their challenge with
yeah,
their
but
data.
he was talking more about data governance and stuff like. But still, the problem is a little bit bigger than that.
The fact here is that the data for AI is our currency. But what data? As you said, the accurate data, the trusted data, and the unbiased data, and how we can ensure that this is going to happen. However, on the other hand, we see in the last 6 months that AI is being used by people and heavily used, and the use is double. And from the Work Trend Index, we see that 78% of AI users are bringing to work their own AI tool, known as Bring Your Own AI. This can be a huge challenge in data.
Bring your AI, wow.
Yeah, yeah. It is like, you know, the shadow IT discussions that we have in the past about...
Yeah, bring your own device, yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
That was the nightmare of all the IT and security managers. Now,
of course, and this can raise security issues, privacy issues, but also data accuracy issues and data poisoning issues. So what we need to ensure in the business sector and, of course, in the public sector is how the organizations can act very fast in order to serve their employees and their employees, in order not to bring these own...
So you have to educate your people.
Yes, first of all, and then govern the use of AI. So give them tools that they can utilize for their work, but have the monitoring mechanisms. And be sure that you utilize globally assessed or tested models, because we all have access to several information about the models and what are their scores in these kind of cases. So you have your own AI systems, you ensure that your employees can only utilize this kind of systems, you have security controls, and also you have the ownership of the data. You don't leave your data to be handled for training or any other reasons.
I think we created more questions to the audience than before they came here, and there are more challenges that they have to understand, and the resource and the investment on all that stuff, but we don't have more time. Thanks very much for an interesting discussion. An applause here for the participants. And I'm handing over back to Maria.
Thank you very much, everyone. of the third session, panel of the third session. Before I try to start rounding up, an announcement, because somebody lost the black case of glasses and it's up at the reception, so if you're looking for that, you will find it there.